There's not much more commentary I can offer about the state-sanctioned execution of Alex Preddy over the weekend that hasn't already been said. If you refuse to acknowledge this for what it is, an unprompted state execution, then you can just argue with the wall. Instead, what I think would be a bit more useful for the purposes of this video is to look at how absurd the lies have gotten from this government and the insane mental gymnastics they have to do to justify the unjustifiable. First, I've got a tweet here from Matt Walsh. I know, I'm sorry, but let's take a look at it. He says, if you dress up in your militia costume, arm yourself, then go out into the street with the express intent of interfering with law enforcement, then fight back when they try to arrest you, and then you end up dead, you only have yourself to blame for that whole series of deliberate and insanely idiotic decisions. Even if Alex Preddy was there to obstruct law enforcement, which the video just doesn't show that, the punishment for that is an arrest and maybe some jail time after facing a court, of course. Not execution in broad daylight. And aside from that, it's news to me that the government gets to just kill you if you decide to wear earthy tones when you're a legal observer. And on the topic of him arming himself, I have a feeling that if Gretchen Whitmer, governor of Michigan, would have told police officers to open fire on anybody with a firearm during the 2020 lockdown protests in Lansing, I have a feeling that conservatives like Matt Walsh probably would have expressed disapproval of that, and rightfully so. We should not accept living in a society where the government can kill you for your outfit or for having a gun. I swear, sometimes it really feels like these people only ever see shapes and colors. Here's another tweet, this one from PatriotGal480 on Twitter. This is a screenshot of apparently Alex Preddy's donations to Act Blue over the course of a couple of years. Right-wingers have this really bizarre tendency to look into the background of people killed by police officers or federal agents or whatever else, and then post hoc justify their execution by the state based on some random thing that they found that agents or police officers could not have known about beforehand. Like, do you really think that the Border Patrol agents beforehand knew that Alex Preddy donated through Act Blue a couple of times? And of course, even if they had a printout of every FEC filing that included Alex Preddy's name, that of course would not justify what they did to him. The purpose of stuff like this, I think, and they did the same thing with Renee Nicole Good when they said that she's like a liberal poet married to a woman, is to dehumanize and otherize victims of the regime when those within the coalition of the regime think, okay, maybe the government went too far this time. Essentially, it's saying, look, they're not one of us, so don't question this too hard. And unfortunately, that us versus them mentality works quite a bit. Here's another tweet, this one from Avery Day. It says, if you don't want to get shot by an officer, you should not pull a gun on one, physically attack one, or drive a car into one, and you should comply, inform the officer if you have a gun, and then comply, not resist arrest, and then comply, have basic common sense and understand that their lives are in danger, so you don't want to make them feel like you're a threat. Jesus Christ, man, we coddled these people infinitely. Yeah, they're the ones in danger when, like, citizens are getting shot. Come on. Aside from the fact, of course, that Renee Nicole Good and Alex Preddy, neither of them actually tried to harm ICE agents, it's still sort of unclear to me why the untrained civilian is expected to have superhuman composure in the face of armed agents with guns that are ostensibly trained, I know. But the agents are essentially justified in literally killing anybody because they might be a little bit scared. Police and CBP and ICE are essentially given an infinite amount of leeway, but the untrained civilian is essentially given none, and if they make any kind of suggestive move, then their death is entirely their fault, apparently. And as Greg Bovino said recently, the agents are actually the victims here.
The victims are the Border Patrol agents. I'm not blaming the Border Patrol agents. The victim are the Border Patrol agents.
Not to mention, of course, that oftentimes people can't just comply because they're given contradictory orders, as was the case with Renee Nicole Good. Would you believe that Avery Day on Twitter has, quote, big government sucks in her Twitter bio? These are the people that we're dealing with. Now, I hear you. These are just random tweets from random conservatives you found on the internet. This isn't representative of the government itself. Fine, fair enough. Let's take a look at what Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem had to say about this specifically.
You said last night, it looks like a situation where an individual arrived at the scene to inflict maximum damage on individuals and to kill law enforcement. Did he say, I'm going to kill you, or did he leave a note? How do you know that was his intent?
A completely reasonable question.
You know, part of this investigation will be hearing from those agents and officers and people on the ground. But we do know that he came to that scene and impeded a law enforcement operation, which is against federal law. It's a felony. When he did that, interacting with those agents, when they tried to get him to disengage, he became aggressive and resisted them throughout that process. These officers used their training, followed their protocols, and were in fear of their lives and the people around them. And that's how this tragedy unfolded, and we hope we never see it again. It grieves me to think about what his family is going through, but it also grieves me what's happening to these law enforcement officers every day out on the streets with the violence that they face.
Notice how she didn't answer the question at all. The administration out the gate called Alex Preddy a domestic terrorist, yet they've been unable to even begin to articulate how they knew his intent was to cause harm to federal agents. And I want you to consider a hypothetical here, right? If Alex Preddy's goal was to kill or cause harm to as many federal agents as he possibly could, why would he take the time to put up his hands, holding a camera very clearly, try to help a woman get up, and essentially do nothing while he was pepper sprayed and wrestled to the ground? Stephen Miller called Alex Preddy a would-be assassin. If that's the truth, then why didn't he just open fire as soon as he saw agents? None of this adds up in any way because they're lying, obviously. But fine, if that's not enough, we can listen to Greg Bovino, now former Commander-at-Large of Border Patrol.
When the agent took the gun away, which it seems as though it was Preddy's gun, that happened before Preddy was shot. Why was an unarmed man shot multiple times by law enforcement, by your Border Patrol agents?
Dana, you don't know he was unarmed. I don't know he was unarmed. That's freeze frame adjudication of a crime scene via a photo. That's why we have investigators. That's why we have an investigation that is going to answer those questions. How many shots were fired? Who fired shots? Where was the guns? Where were the guns located? All those questions are going to be answered.
I think you can see the screen.
In the investigation. We're not going to adjudicate that here on TV in one freeze frame there.
Okay.
Bovino says he doesn't want to do freeze frame adjudication of what happened over the weekend. Or in other words, looking at the evidence before us and drawing conclusions. And this is the key to all of this, right? The story that the administration is telling is not present in any of the multiple angles of video that have surfaced since this incident happened. So their only choice is to lie or to beg you not to watch the footage and make up your own mind. Again, it doesn't feel like there's a whole lot of like intellectual commentary I can do. I usually like to make these videos like thought-provoking and a little intellectual so that it can give you something to chew on while you form your own opinions, but this is just a clear-cut case of the state executing somebody and then lying and trying to cover it up, even though the cover-up is like the most transparent thing of all time, in competition only with all of their other cover-ups, of course. But if you had any doubts left about this regime's capacity to just make shit up, I hope that disabuses you of that notion and convinces you that this government will lie on literally anybody's name while the body is still warm if it means they can keep their deportation industrial complex churning. But I want to leave you with just one last bit of insane, ridiculous right-wing nonsense. This is a tweet from some random right-wing influencer on Twitter, and I think it perfectly encapsulates this sort of state of American conservatism. This is from Colin Gladman on Twitter. If a police officer pulls me over and I don't like the charges, I can have my day in court. If I get out of my car, stick my phone in his face and cuss him out, I'll get additional charges and probably arrested. If I get out of my car and get into a fist fight with him, I deserve to get my ass beat. If I choose to get in a fist fight with him and have a gun on me, I deserve to get shot if they feel threatened making split-second decisions. I cannot imagine the delusion it takes to pre-justify scenarios in your head of the state shooting you. The boot's got to be so far down this guy's throat that I would be surprised if he can even speak. This is genuinely the state of American conservatism. I thought these were the people that were supposed to care about small government, but here we are. Again, if you had any doubts about the right wing's ability to justify the state doing literally anything to you, violating your human and civil rights in any way, I hope you've been disabused of that notion, because they will say literally anything if it means that the state is cracking down on the people that they don't like specifically. Anyways, thanks for watching the video today. Please make sure to subscribe to both of the channels down below. We're really trying to grow the second channel up. I don't have much else to say about this situation because it's just really bad. So stay safe, abolish ICE, and I will see you next time.